Hello everyone. Today we are going to discussing about what are the kinetics or what are the forces which are actually acting on gate and how the forces are generating the required amount of energy to initiate the gate and also to propagate the gate. So last class we have discussed about what are the kinematics or what are the basic movements which are happening in a gate cycle in each of the joints in lower limbs. So today we are going to looking into what are the forces which are producing some kind of movements or what are the kind of movements which are initiating this gate. So the first one is ground reaction forces. So as the name suggests, it's a ground reaction force. So whenever we take a step or whenever we apply pressure to the ground, the same amount of pressure will be applied to the foot from the ground reaction from the ground. So that's what we call as a ground reaction force. When a person takes a step, forces are applied to the ground by the foot and by the ground to the foot. So whatever the how much amount of force which we apply to the ground is actually equal or there is a amount of force which is acting on the foot also. The forces are equal in magnitude but in opposite direction. So as something like in Newton's law, the forces which are equal magnitude but in an opposite direction. First one is we are applying force from the foot to the ground and second one is opposite to that from the ground to the foot. We are usually more interested in the forces which are applied to the foot, which are termed as the ground reaction forces, which has a typical pattern from initial contact to the takeoff phase. So whenever we talk about ground reaction forces, we are actually looking into the forces or the amount of forces which is applied to the foot by the ground. So that's what we are talking in detail. So how this is affecting or how the ground reaction forces are acting on our bodies, especially in the lower limb joints. Next is in vertical direction, the magnitude are low at first but increase to values that are greater than body weight both in early stance and again in late stance with lower values at mid stance. So this is a typical pattern how the magnitude are differs in the human body. So in the beginning of gate cycle, the magnitude is very low and the magnitude will get to its peak when we attend for early stance phase. But during mid stance, again it comes down. But in the late stance, the magnitude is in a high range. So that's how the ground reaction forces are applying or applied to the foot. Next is center of pressure. The center of pressure of the foot on the supporting surface moves along a path during gauge and produces a characteristic pattern. So center of pressure means whenever we take a step, there is a point which bears the maximum amount of pressure in the foot region. So that's what we call as a center of pressure area. It's a supporting surface in the foot. So if we go for heel strike, there is a particular point in the foot or especially in the heel region which carries the maximum amount of pressure or maximum amount of pressure to the ground. So that's what we call as a center of pressure. Basic principles of kinetics are Sir Isaac Newton's third law of motion, that is for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever the forces which we are applying to the ground, there is a same and equal and opposite direction force which is applied to the foot by the ground. The center of pressure starts at the posterior lateral edge of the heel at the beginning of stance phase and moves in a nearly linear manner to the midfoot area, remaining lateral to the midline. So this is how the center of pressure varies in each of the phases in gate cycle. So at the beginning, what happens? It's a heel strike phase. That means we are touching the ground with our heel. So the maximum pressure or the center of pressure during heel strike is in our heel, because heel is the one which is going to be in contact with the ground. So heel has the center of pressure, and as it moves forward, or as the gate progress, the center of pressure moves along with. That means if we are in a mid stance position or an early stance position, the center of pressure is moving into the midpoint, and when it comes to the late stance, it is almost coming to front, and when it comes to the toe of face or the heel of face, the exact center of pressure is coming to the toes. So that's what happening to the center of pressure in accordance with the progression of gait, and then moves medially across the ball of the foot with a large concentration along the metatarsal brake. The center of pressure then moves to the second and first toes during terminal stance. So as I said earlier, the progression of center of pressure is exactly in accordance with the gait cycle progression. That means at the beginning, when we go for the heel strike, heel is the one which is carrying the center of pressure, and when the gait progress, it moves along with it. That means if we are in early stance phase, it's almost coming to the midpoint of foot, and as it moves forward, when we comes to the late stance phase, it is coming to the front of the foot, or to much more anterior to the line. When it comes to late stance or the heel of face, what happens? The center of pressure is actually bearing at the metatarsal head, and at the new gait cycle, the same pattern uh, pattern is followed. Next is the internal and external forces, moments, and conventions. So for each of the joint, there are structures which are carrying out the movement both internally and externally. So there are forces which is acting on that particular joint internally. That means the ligaments, muscles, all the tendons, all the structures which are present in and around the joint. And there are some external forces, as we said, ground reaction forces, center of mass, center of pressure, gravity. All those things are the external forces. Then we have some moments. That means there are some proper direction to the force. Then there are some conventions. The internal moments are the moments which are generated by the muscles, joint capsules, and ligaments to contract the external forces, to counteract the external forces acting on the body. And there are some external forces such as ground reaction force produce external movement about the joint. So mainly there are two kinds of movements, two kinds of forces which are acting on particular joint or the particular movement. First one is internal and external. Internal movements are basically the forces or the directed forces which is produced by muscles, ligaments, all the internal structures, and we have something called as external forces or moments which are actually produced by the ground reaction forces, center of pressure, gravity, and all external surface or external forces. First one is internal forces. Internal and external forces. Internal moments are moments which are mainly created by the muscle, joints, ligaments, and all things, and external are mainly by ground reaction forces and other things. So next we are going into kinetic analysis. That means how we can analyze these forces which are acting on the particular joint during the progression of gait cycle. It is performed to understand the forces acting on the joint, the moments produced by the muscles which are crossing the joint, and the energy requirement of the gait. So why we actually need to do this kinetic analysis? We want to know that what are the internal moments which are acting on the particular joints, and what are the external forces which are acting on the joints, and what are the how much is the energy required to perform that particular phase or the whole gait cycle. So this is the reason why we are actually analyzing this kinetic energies in the gait cycle. So mainly we need to know what are the forces which are internally and externally acting on that particular joint to carry this particular gait pattern, or if there is any deformities or if there is any abnormality to this gait, we should be able to define, or we should be able to find what is the factor or what is the structure which is actually causing some default to the normal gait progression. So that's the reason why we need to analyze this kinetic forces. So the easiest way to analyze this kinetic forces is by this four body segment model. That means we are dividing our whole body into four segments, and basically all the forces which are acting on gait is represented by this four body segment model, and it will comes from the proximal to distal to proximal direction. That means first we will be talking about ankle joint and what are the forces which is acting on joint, ankle joint. Next we will comes to the knee joint, then hip, and then to the upper body. So this is the successive model which is actually able to define these forces in a much broader way. So this is the adapted way how we are analyzing this kinetic posture. So next one is, now we are going to looking into what are the moments which are happening in gait, both in sagittal, frontal, and in the transverse plane. So first we will be looking into sagittal plane, and we have discussed about the movements which are happening in sagittal plane last class. So today we are going to looking into what are the forces which are carrying out those movements. So when we look into the initial contact phase, in the initial contact, ankle joint, in all of this you can see you need to looking for three things. First one is the center of pressure, second one is the ground reaction, how the ground reaction forces are acting, and third, what are the moments which is produced by each of this joint. So in the initial contact, what is the point of center of pressure? The center of pressure is actually in the heel. And how the ground reaction forces are passing? In the ankle joint, it is actually posterior to the ankle joint. In the knee joint, it is anterior to the knee joint. And in the hip joint, it is anterior to the knee joint. So the easiest way to remember the force, the muscle moment is that if the ground reaction forces are passing anterior to the joint, there will be a posterior moment will be producing. That means look into the ankle joint. The ankle joint is actually, in the ankle joint, the ground reaction forces is passing posterior to the ankle joint. Because of that, there will be a anterior force, or there will be a dorsiflexor moment. In the knee joint, what happens? The ground reaction forces are actually passing anterior to the knee joint, so there will be a posterior force. That means there is a flexor moment is produced. And in the hip joint, the same thing. The ground reaction forces are actually passing anterior to the hip joint in the initial contact. Because of that, there is an extensor moment which is produced by the extensor group of muscles in the hip joint. So that's what is happening in the initial contact. Next one is during foot flight. So what is happening what is happening in the foot flight phase? The center of pressure is almost unchanged, but there are some changes with the ground reaction forces only at the knee joint. Because when we talk about the kinematics, during the flat foot, there is some amount of flexion which is happening in the knee joint. So because of that flexion, the ground reaction forces is actually passing posterior to the knee joint, and because of that, there is an extensor moment in the knee joint. And rest all are same like the initial contact. That means in the ankle joint, there will be a dorsiflexor moment because the ground reaction forces are actually passing posterior to the ankle joint. And in the hip joint, there is an extensor moment which is mainly caused due to the anterior placement of ground reaction forces in the hip joint. And next, when it comes to the mid stance, in the mid stance, it entirely changes. That means the center of pressure is almost into the center of foot, and the ground reaction forces is anterior to the ankle joint and anterior to the knee joint and posterior to the hip joint. And because of these changes in ankle joint, there will be a plantar flexor moment, and in the knee joint there will be a flexor moment. And because of the change in the ground reaction forces from anterior to posterior in the hip joint, during mid stance phase the hip joint will produce a flexor moment. And in the late mid stance, what happens? Almost something like a same which is happening in the mid stance phase. That means the line of gravity is passing anterior to the ankle joint, almost through or anterior to the knee joint and posterior to the hip joint. So it will produce a typical plantar flexor moment in the knee joint and flexor moment in the hip joint. And when it comes to the helo phase, the only change which is happening is that in hip joint the ground reaction force is actually coming posterior to the hip joint, so it will produce a flexor moment. So this is actually a change, because previously we said that if the ground reaction forces are acting or the moment is producing opposite to the ground reaction force, opposite to the side of ground reaction force, but only so during helo phase what happens, the center of pressure is almost coming anterior to the hip joint, anterior to the ankle joint or into the tip of the toes, and the ground reaction forces in the ankle joint is produced far anterior from the ankle joint, so it will produce a flexor moment. In the knee joint the ground reaction forces is passing anterior to the knee joint, so it will produce a flexor moment. And in the hip joint the ground reaction forces are actually posterior to the hip joint, so it will produce a flexor moment. In the toe off also it something happens similar, but only in the knee joint there is a change. In the toe off phase the ground reaction forces in the knee joint are passing posterior to the knee joint, and because of that it will produce a extensor moment. And this is the graphical representation how the sagittal plane moments are progressing through the gait cycle. That means in the hip joint the joint moment, it starts from an extensor moment and it comes to the flexor moment when the gait progress almost about the 40%, and it goes back to the or to the initial position by the end of the gait cycle. And knee joint, it is actually a mix. It starts from the flexor moment, it goes to the extensor, again it comes back to flexor, extensor. It's a complicated one in knee joint, and angle is almost a stable one. That means it will give you a more amount of plantar moment, or there is a high requirement for the plantar moment than a dorsiflexion. So the dorsiflexion is mainly happening in the initial and in the late gait cycle, but rest of during rest of the gait cycle the plantar flexor moment is the one which is actually giving a proper progression of the gait cycle. And this is the frontal plane movement. So what are the moments which are happening in the frontal plane? In the hip joint the main moments which are producing are abductor and adductor. What happens in the beginning of the gait cycle in the hip joint, it will start with a mild abductor moment, and it increases to the maximum and there is some fluctuation, and by the 60% of gait cycle there are some amount of adductor moment which are happening to the hip joint. And in the knee joint will also shows a similar kind of moment which are happening to the hip joint. That means the abductor forces are more dominating in knee joint than adductor forces. The knee joint is almost dominated by the abductor moment, than adductor moment during all gate cycle. But in the angle joint, there are some changes. In angle joint, both inverter and the inverter moments are occurring. That means in the beginning of gate there is a inverter moment and it will get its the peak by 20%. Then it comes back to inverter moment by 40%. It will peak by 40%, and by 60% it will again give an inverter moment, and then it comes back to almost neutral, or there is a little amount of inverter moment by the end of gate cycle. So this is the moments which are happening in frontal moments, and this is about transverse plane. So what are the rotatory moments which are happening in the hip, knee and ankle joint during progression of gait cycle? So mainly there are external and internal rotation. In the hip joint, at the beginning of gait cycle, it starts with an external rotator moment and it comes to inverted internal rotation by almost about 50% of gait cycle. It will give you a peak of internal rotator moment and it comes back to external rotator and it maintains the external rotator moment during the progression or with the completion of gait cycle in hip joint. And when it comes to knee joint will also have a similar kind of moments which is produced by the hip joint. That means in knee joint, the knee joint is also start with some amount of external rotation, and by the 50% it will give you a maximum internal rotator moment, and by 60 or 65% of gait cycle it will gives you an inverter moment and it will maintain that inverter moment during the progression of rest of gait of cycle. But in angle joint, it is almost the main moment which is happening in the angle joint is by the external rotation. There is only limited amount of internal rotations which are happening by 60% of gait cycle, and the high amount of external rotator moment is almost happening by, or the peak of external rotator moment is happening by the 40% of gait cycle. Next is energy requirements. I think we'll discuss about energy requirements in coming classes.